Hello, everyone. This is something a little bit off the cuff, a little bit different that I just wanted to do real briefly. So in other words, it's going to take me 40 minutes or something. Hopefully not. But this is something I wanted to show off to everyone because I feel like this is one of those situations where I want to do a PSA on something negative, which I don't do often. I prefer to stay on positive topics, but this is so ridiculous in places that I kind of just had to show this off. Originally, I was just going to show this on my Discord community, just a few posts, be like, wow, look at this. But I went down the rabbit hole, and it got deeper and deeper, and instead of having just a few images to show off, I ended up having all of this to show off, and this is truncated. So, if you're wondering, what is this exactly? This is a creator survey that YouTube was pushing on YouTube creators, including myself, just recently. Sometimes when you go to your creator page where you get to view all your videos that you've uploaded and stuff, sometimes at the top it'll be like, hey, there's a survey, we'd love your valuable feedback to improve our platform, blah, blah, blah. So I wanted to go over this because as I went through the survey, mostly just to see what sort of questions it has, it got worse and worse, and I just wanted to talk about it, share with people that aren't YouTube creators what they're throwing out there in surveys, because I find that these kind of corporate surveys say a lot about the company, the sort of questions they ask, the way they ask them. And to be perfectly blunt, the way that this creator survey went makes it very clear that YouTube wants an exceptionally toxic and harmful relationship with its customers, both its creators and its viewers. So I want to go over this and explain what I mean by that. So let's go over each image. I'll talk a little bit about it, and at the end of the day, I guess I'll kind of paint a bigger picture. So the very first one is just, I'm sorry if this is a little hard to read. Some of these will be a little bit difficult to read, but they should all be more or less readable. The first one is, this is what was at the top of my creator studio originally. As a valid YouTube creator, we invite you to help guide decisions about tools and features to help creators succeed. So that was the point of this survey, this, hey, let's help creators succeed, which is, of course, a lot of corporate gobbledygook already. Trust me, that only hits the tip of the iceberg, but that's the introduction to the survey. And basically, this is truncated, like I said. This is not every survey page. Honestly, the damn thing took me like 40 minutes to go through. It was really big. So I just saved the things that caught my attention in order of them appearing. So the start of the survey is, welcome to the survey. Please consider your experiences as a content creator as you answer the following questions. So very much this is just for content creators. It's not for users to fill out. It was only aimed towards content creators. So let's start looking at some of the questions they ask along the way. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statement? I could count on YouTube to do the right thing for its users and creators. I'm sure a lot of us already have an opinion on a statement like this. Oh yeah, I can do this. I can zoom a little bit to make this easier to see. So, obviously, here's the thing about corporate surveys. They will always use corporation positive language. They're not going to ask you, do you think we suck? They're going to ask you, do you think we're awesome? That's always how corporate surveys are. That's not anything new, but it's still worth pointing out in case those of you aren't aware of this sort of language. They will always use language that encourages you to answer positively towards the company. Obviously, some of these you can actually see the answer I marked, because I did go through the survey properly just to see the whole thing. But obviously, I could count on YouTube to do the right thing for users and creators. Obviously, I disagree strongly with that. That is a very incorrect statement, as YouTube is not focused on either its users or its creators, as we've seen with things like removal of the dislike button and such. This is just, again, the tip of the iceberg. It gets worse. It gets so much worse. So, next one. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statement? I feel confident about my future on YouTube. It's a big platform, so there's some stability, but obviously I kind of disagree with that, because I never know what the fuck YouTube's doing. I don't think anybody does. Let's go to the next one. How much do you agree or disagree that YouTube is a trustworthy company? Trustworthy company. That's rich, honestly, in my opinion. So I disagree strongly with that. I'm sure a lot of people have their opinions as well. And by the way, when I do these sort of rants and stuff, I definitely encourage discussion. So YouTube commenters, go ahead and give your opinions and critiques on things that you see in the survey. YouTube, as Twitch viewers as well, go ahead and comment on things as you see them. This is a good time to share your opinion. Just stay respectful. How much do you agree or disagree that YouTube makes a positive contribution to society? This is going up a tier. This is not just how awesome do you think we are. This is how awesome do you think we are to our community? How awesome do you think YouTube is when it outreaches past other people? This is getting a little bit further. This is not just how good do you think our company is, but also how do you think we better society? How do you think YouTube betters society? That's a real interesting perspective that they want you to answer towards, right? That No, like a positive impact to society? Seriously. That's a bit rich, honestly. So, next one. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statement? YouTube is an essential platform for creator success. This is an interesting question, because this shows what YouTube wants to be, what the corporate entities want people to feel about it, at least. YouTube is an essential, that word essential, that's an interesting word, right? Essential platform. There's another way you could word this. How much do you agree or disagree with the following statement? YouTube has a monopoly on creator success. That's another way you could phrase this sentence. And a monopoly, if you aren't aware, is where a company has a stranglehold on a market, has very little or no competition, and basically can do whatever the fuck they want because it's a monopoly. This is basically asking, do you think that they have a monopoly? Which is, of course, what they actually want here. But they're going to word it in a way that sounds good for the user, obviously. But then, so that was the initial questions where I'm just agreeing or disagreeing on different levels. Then it switched formats to this. This format is a little bit different because it goes through a whole bunch of questions, but it's the same, more or less the same answers. It's just presenting it as a block of questions. I didn't go over the whole block, obviously. I'm just truncating this, but this one starts out by asking, how much do you agree or disagree that YouTube allows me to post content without worrying about censorship? Again, this is really rich, because if I had said fuck in the first 10 seconds of this video, there's a chance it would have been demonetized. Granted, I don't seem to be touched by that, but there are a lot of creators that are affected by things like you cursed, so you're screwed. It doesn't seem to mess with me too much, but then again, maybe my intros are too long, so it doesn't matter. I don't know. But, yeah, so obviously this is rich. But obviously this is another goal of theirs. They want people to feel this way, right? They want to feel like, oh, I'm not censored at all, even though they are obviously censoring people. That's not even something that needs to be argued. But yeah, so that's an interesting one. Moving on. YouTube has fair content guidelines and policies. Yeah, no. Again, these kind of write themselves as far as like which answer. These were easy questions to answer. Fair content. You don't even know what. Even knowing what the content guidelines and policies are is difficult. Like, it's unclear a lot of times. YouTube cares about my well-being on the platform. Now, this one is starting to get more insidious if you pay attention. YouTube cares about my well-being on the platform. What corporation cares about you? Of course, that is a mindset that a lot of companies love you to feel. They want you to have brand loyalty, so they want you to feel like the brand cares about you. Hence, you should be loyal to them. Of course, this is really poisonous because this is a corporation. By definition, even the best corporation in the world that treats its customers well does not technically care about its customers. It's a business. They're trying to make money, and the customer makes them money. The best businesses understand and respect that arrangement, and I guess demonstrate a form of care by respecting the customer's time, money, and respecting them as a person. But that is always geared towards, hey, does this corporation benefit from this arrangement? That's always going to be the focus. So it's not true care, it's not true concern, because an entity, a corporation, a conglomerate does not have emotions. People in it might, but YouTube itself does not care. That is by definition just impossible. It's like asking a robot to care. Next question. YouTube treats creators fairly, no matter their channel size. This question caught my attention because they are specifically discussing channel size. Obviously, if you aren't aware, YouTube generally will give far less support to smaller channels. For instance, if I had some big channel problem, I would have trouble reaching out to YouTube. But if Markiplier had a channel issue, he could reach somebody. Squeaky Will gets the grease. You can easily complain on Twitter or whatever if you're a bigger YouTuber. Somebody's going to notice, somebody's going to bend and fix your issue. This is untrue, but it's interesting they're focusing on it. Because it's interesting. So they're aware of the discourse about how if you're a smaller channel, you don't get attention. You don't get help. You don't get support. I think you have to hit 100K to have somebody, like, a personal line to somebody. 100K subscribers to have a personal, like, YouTube help person that you can contact by email. You have to, like, get that big just to have a email contact. So, Yeah, obviously, it's funny that they bring this up because it's obviously a very disagreeable statement. But again, they word it positively. It's not a question about YouTube. YouTube treats creators fairly no matter their channel size. Of course, it's always, these questions are always asking the most idyllic, company positive result. It's so manipulative. Next one. YouTube is unbiased in removing inappropriate content. It's not even very good at removing inappropriate content in the first place. Bias? Oh, I'm sure their bias is they don't have a bias, but they're not unbiased. They're random, chaotic, and don't have any actual standards to what they remove and keep. So it's worse than a case of bias. There's no standards in the first place to even have a bias over. That's YouTube. YouTube, here's an interesting one, especially in the aftermath of them removing the dislike button. This question hits different. YouTube protects me from bullying, harassment, and trolls. Yeah, because they removed the dislike button, so they do a great job on that, because they removed the dislike button. That stopped all the bullying, right? In their minds, it did. It's funny this question comes up given that, though. Next one. YouTube enables creators to succeed, regardless of identity, gender, race, sexuality, age, etc. This is an interesting one because, as far as I'm aware, though there is much negativity about YouTube and how it treats people, I haven't heard this come up before. I haven't heard of actual inequality based on your gender, race, sexuality, etc. Does that exist? I wouldn't be surprised, actually. But it's interesting to me because the question of this only got brought up to my brain when I went through the survey. This is not something I personally noticed, but I completely believe it's possible. Though I do recall some people who are gay that made videos about homosexuality. It was like really respectful and stuff, and those videos were flagged and taken down by YouTube because it's like, oh, you're talking about something that's inappropriate for children. It's like, it was just a discussion about... It was actually a very mature discussion. There was nothing wrong with it. It was completely like non-pornographic, but it was treated like it was. It was dumb, very dumb. So I have actually seen a case of, yeah, obviously inequality when it comes to discussing sexuality, which of course the West hates doing in the first place. But again, there's good and bad ways to do it, and YouTube will just ban you for it in general. But then again, this is the company that will demonetize your video if you say fuck in the first 5-10 seconds, so you know. Standards. They're fucked. Next one. YouTube has fair policies for how creators make money. No. With how random it is to get demonetized. If you aren't aware, just to fill you in case anybody isn't aware that watches this video, if a company decides you use their music in a video, they can choose to demonetize you. There is no overhead by YouTube. It's just the company decides to demonetize you. That company that thinks you're claiming their music can just choose to demonetize you. And your response, what you can do, is you can see the demonetization and you can tell that company, actually, I do not agree. I think you are making a mistake. And then that company, again, has sole discretion whether to agree with you and remove the demonetization or just keep it. So it's entirely within another company's hands, you know, the people who can make money off of your videos, to decide whether or not your demonetization is legit. And of course, a lot of them will decide, no, I think we'll keep your demonetization that gives us money. I think we'll keep that after hearing your plea. So yeah, no, there's nothing fair about this, obviously. But it's interesting, again, that they bring it up. Next one. YouTube provides me the support to manage my well-being on the platform. This is an interesting question. At first, I misread it. I thought it said, YouTube provides me the support to manage myself on the platform. But no, it's specifically my well-being. That's an interesting statement when you're bringing well-being into the mix. Like, this is not just, can I operate on the platform? This is, can I operate, like, comfortably and emotionally securely on the platform, more or less. This is different, and it hits weird. I'm not even sure what to say about this question, but it is a weird one. YouTube cares about my success as a creator. There's that word again. Cares. Again, as I said before, a corporate entity cannot care. By very definition, it is a conglomerate of business practices, legalese, and etc. That doesn't care about you. But this is, again, very dumb because, again, look at that. They're pushing this friendly relationship, right? They're pushing this emotional relationship with YouTube as a company. This may not seem like a big deal that they've used the word care twice, but keep this in mind. It will come up later. Next one. YouTube celebrates all creators regardless of identity, gender, race, sexuality, age, etc. Celebrates. That's an interesting word too. Because celebrates is like the word you use when you're quote-unquote a big ally to somebody. So YouTube wants to be an ally. This is not a surprise. Of course, they want that thought process to go through people's minds, which is dumb. Even if I wasn't aware of any gender, race, sexuality, age discrimination, which I am aware of a little bit of it, even if I wasn't aware of that, I would not say that they ever celebrate. Again, that's something that a corporate entity can't really do. Do you ever have a corporate entity celebrate your birthday? Well, okay, some corporate entities send out, like, generic emails if it's your birthday, to be fair. Hey, happy birthday! Come to our store and buy stuff there for your birthday. But yeah. Next one. YouTube well, this actually almost feels like the same question. It's really just a change of two words. YouTube treats creators fairly no matter their identity, gender, race, sexuality, age, etc. Feels like we already went through this question, right? It's a different one, though. They actually kind of reiterate some of these with slightly different wording, which really confused me. It's like they asked the same question twice, but with a slightly different language. I feel like they're trying to manipulate the situation, like, oh, well, you didn't agree with us on this wording? Well, if we use this wording, do you now agree with us? Like, I feel like it's trying to manipulate, like, okay, but what makes you feel more favorable? What language can we use to make you agree with us? Like, I think that's what they're kind of doing. So yeah, kind of scuzzy. So next one. I feel rewarded for the amount of effort I put in on YouTube. Now, in a way, I do feel rewarded because I get to engage people and get nice comments. I get shitty comments too, but I get a nice comment. That is rewarding. But as far as actual monetary reward goes, not really. YouTube doesn't pay very well, and it's been down this year, unfortunately, as well. So no, it never feels rewarding, especially when you never know what's going to get demonetized. Sometimes one of my big videos that I'm like, this will get better views than most of my content, and then it's like that video gets demonetized, and it's like, well, fuck. Fortunately, I've been able to clear up most of the demonetization claims on my bigger videos, so thank goodness for that. But yeah, not fun sometimes, and not rewarded. Next one. Again, YouTube celebrates all creators. You notice how this time they removed the regardless of gender identity, race, sexuality, nationality, etc. This time it's just without that. Again, it feels like they're testing different ways to word the same question to see what people actually agree to, so that they know how to write a press release or something. I don't know. It's dumb. Next one. YouTube makes it clear to me how to be successful. That's a weird one because no, they don't. They try to. I get emails now and it's like, hey, we have join our podcast live stream thing for creators where we go over how to be a better creator. It's like, those are really dumb. I watched one of the live streams for this that they did, and it was just the most generic schlock and just like them patting themselves on the back about how they're helping people. It was like a podcast of like, so here's tips on how to be a better YouTuber. We're going to talk about that for 5 minutes, but then we're going to talk about 15 minutes how awesome we are for giving you tips. So stick around for that. It's like, seriously, it was mostly self-promotion. It was so dumb. It was like, we're so awesome for providing you guys tips. Let's talk about that for 15 minutes, then maybe we'll give you 5 minutes of tips. Like, it was so stupid. But yeah, so next one. I am satisfied with how often YouTube changes its policies and guidelines. This is a real rich one because, as we all know, YouTube makes a lot of dumb changes that nobody likes, like removing the dislike button, or changing how video encoding works, or changing how comments work, or changing how this or that works. It's like YouTube is constantly shuffling features that nobody asked them to change. And it really causes a lot of people issues. So this question is funny. I am satisfied with how often YouTube changes its policies and guidelines. Oh boy, sure, howdy. I love how often YouTube just like fucking makes things chaotic and makes me have to relearn things. I sure love that. I'm very satisfied. Like, who the fuck is satisfied by this? This is a case of the question being worded company positively, and that just makes it stupid. by wording this towards the company in a positive light, this question gets really stupid saying. I'm absolutely satisfied with how much chaos there is with the rule set. I love that. Like, that's what a stupid way to word that question. But it's got to remain company positive, or the survey might make people feel sad about YouTube, right? We don't want that. Gotta manipulate people. Next question. YouTube makes it fun to be a creator. Oh boy, it's sure fun to randomly roll the dice to see which videos might make money. That sure is, it's just like a dice game. So much fun! Fun. Moving on. YouTube is, I feel like, I know some of this might seem like I'm going lightning fast, but there's a lot here, so I'm just going to move on. YouTube is unbiased about recommending content. Interesting you bring that up, YouTube. Do you want to talk about it? This feels like somebody coming up to you and being like, so you think I'm a good person, right? You think I don't make mistakes, and you think I don't do illegal activities or anything, right? If somebody came up to you, a friend or whatever, or a stranger, and just asked, like, do you think I do legal activities, right? Would you be immediately suspicious of them? Be like, why are you asking that, right? Like, why are you asking that question, though? You're asking me if I think you're not evil, basically, and it's like, that's kind of what this is. Oh, I'm totally unbiased, right, guys? I'm unbiased, right? And it's like, well, if you're worried about that, you might be biased, or you might at least be heavily concerned about being biased, which makes me wonder if you should evaluate yourself a bit. Of course, a corporate entity can't really evaluate itself because it's a corporate entity, but kind of interesting. Hella biased. The algorithm is hella biased. Next one. Multiple content formats, i.e. short-term, long-form, live stream, podcasts, etc., makes YouTube more fun. There's that word again. Have you noticed this with corporate entities? They love to use the word fun. How many raise of hands here? How many people have worked a job in, like, I don't know, retail, fast food, whatever, and the company had some sort of program? There's like, hey employees, we want you to have fun. This should be we're a family here, and we want you to, feel like you're having a good time on the job. So like, we're just gonna give you some really cheap pizza. Oh, so much fun, or something like that. Like, oh, there's coffee in the break room. Isn't that fun? Like. It's just fun. It's such a casual word to try to endear you to the company, which again is a very manipulative tactic because, as we discussed, say it with me, corporate entities don't have emotions. You can't have fun with a corporate entity. It's not something you can go play soccer with or football if you're in not America. Whereas the one place that just calls it the wrong thing. But yeah, can't go do hacky sack of them, right? Next one. Again, rewording the same question. This is really weird how often they do this. YouTube celebrates my achievements, both big and small. What? What does that mean? My big and small achievements? How does celebrates? What does celebrate even mean in that terminology? Hooray, YouTube gave me a little bit of ad revenue for the small number of viewers I got out of this video. I guess they celebrated my achievements, both big and small, or something. I don't know. It's like, weird question. Next one. YouTube values the diversity of its creators, ethnicity, gender, etc. Again with that, except for this time we're not bringing up this time we're not bringing up sexuality. We're not bringing up what was the other one? Well, there was one other besides that in the other questions, but this time it's just narrowed down to a couple. It's just really interesting. They keep asking variations, saying question. Okay, what do you think about us involving this group of people? How about this group of people excluding these people? And it's like, I guess that's sort of logical to form a more accurate basis on what exactly is the problem, but at the same time, it's worded in such a way that it really feels like they're trying to reach for the most positive outcome. Like, if I answer this similar question in a I disagree, and maybe I agree a little bit, they're going to latch onto the maybe I agree a little bit and be like, see, we're a positive company, you agree here. Dumb. All right, moving on to the next category of questions, which, as you see, there's some weird bars here. So I didn't do too many of these, but which of the following emotions? So here we go. It's now starting to ask me about my emotions. This is interesting. There was a number of these. I only saved a couple, though. Which of the following emotions describe your overall experience on YouTube as a creator? Now, this is actually just kind of what I just kind of like selected 3 as a whole. But it's interesting what they offer here as a scale. Stressed or relaxed, vulnerable or safe, insecure or confident, anxious or calm. They want to know the details of my emotional state as a creator, which I find to be a little bit suspect, personally. Which is why I didn't answer with a lot of variation here. I just kind of was like, yeah, it kind of sucks, so I'm just going to put 3s. It's weird to have them want the details of my emotions. Of course, there were a few questions like these. I only saved a couple, because it's more the concept as a whole rather than the questions that bother me about this. Which of the following emotions describe your overall experience on YouTube as a creator? Sad, happy, lonely, sociable, uneasy, and comfortable. You know what's another problem with these sliding scales? Between this and this emotion, what do you feel? What if you feel a third emotion, a fourth one, a fifth one? Those emotions don't count. They only care about the very specific, narrow category. This would actually be a better situation where you could write in a blank text box and maybe express your emotions. But, again, it's kind of weird for them to be asking your emotions in the first place. Next question. This is where things started to take an interesting turn. Because this is where YouTube started to show a little bit more of its hand with the survey. What negative news have you heard about YouTube in the past few months? Please elaborate. So this is interesting. YouTube wants to know what negative things I've heard about YouTube. They're very concerned about that. They're so concerned, in fact, that if I enter nothing into this box, as I wrote here, tried to write nothing as there's too many examples, and I didn't want to go into specifics. It forces you to answer with something, though. See this? Please provide an answer. Normally, if I see a blank like this, it's something I could opt out of answering. It forces you to answer this to continue the survey. You have to tell YouTube about the negative news you've heard. It's weirdly, like, sensitive of YouTube. Like, oh, do people hate YouTube? We need to know. If people hate us, we need to hear about it. We can't just... We gotta hear details. You gotta give us an answer. You gotta tell us about the... It's also funny that I have to give an answer, so... In other words, even YouTube knows there's inevitably some negative news you heard. Like, you can't not answer the question, so even YouTube is aware, oh, everybody has something to share here, right? It's so dumb. But, yeah. It does seem overly sensitive of YouTube to force you to answer this, though. Next one. So another agree, disagree. I feel upset when I hear negative news stories about YouTube. This is interesting. This seems like an obvious question, but it gets worse as we go through this block of questions. I feel upset when I hear negative news stories about YouTube. No, I feel fucking fantastic over the moon when I hear negative news stories. Are you kidding me? Whenever we hear negative news stories, don't we all feel so much better about life? Like, man, I sure am glad there's suffering and misery. That sure makes me feel great. Like what the fuck? It feels like an obvious question, right? But it does seg into the other questions in this kind of section, which is interesting to me. Obviously, very on its own, though. Like, what do you fucking think? Of course I agree that I feel upset when I hear negative news stories. Who wouldn't? But then you go further. Check this out. After hearing a negative story about YouTube, I distanced myself from YouTube. It is funny they asked this. But it is also, again, insidious the way they asked it. I distance myself from YouTube. It isn't just like a normal way of asking this, writing the sentence would be, after hearing a negative news story about YouTube, I find myself using YouTube less. I don't feel like using YouTube. That would be a normal sort of question. But it's interesting they say I distance myself from YouTube. Yet again, a manipulative emotional format, because you don't distance yourself from a corporate entity. You distance yourself from a friend. You distance yourself from a relationship. You distance yourself from a person. The word distance is interesting because they are forcing an emotional bond to YouTube here. Even if you're answering negatively, you're still forced to think about it as far as a relationship. This gets more blatant as we go. Next one. It is easy for me to recall a negative news story regarding YouTube. Well, obviously. Not a lot to say here, but again, it's funny they bring it up. Next one. I believe the negative news stories I hear about YouTube to be true. I guess this is a fair question, but again, it's just, again, interesting how much detail there is focused on negative news stories about YouTube. There's a lot of questions about negative news stories about YouTube. They are very concerned about that. Next one. Here's an interesting one. After hearing a negative story about YouTube, I want to do something to try to fix/resolve the situation. Isn't that an interesting statement? Man, I heard this one company messed up. Oh shit, I really like that company. I gotta go try to help them. You know what fix/resolve the situation could also be translated out as? It could also be translated as somebody who is a loyalist to a company defending that company from other people. You ever got, those famous arguments against, Nintendo fanboys, Sony fanboys, Sega fanboys going at each other like, no, my company is really awesome. You guys can't say bad shit about my company. That's what they're asking here in less inflammatory terms. What is the user supposed to do? The user is supposed to get online and defend their company. Yeah, it's one of those loyalty brand shit. That is what they're talking about here. It's which isn't cool, because the company doesn't care about you nearly as much as you care about them in that situation. So it's kind of foolhardy to defend a company. You can offer critique, but to have an emotional attachment like that when defending a company is not wise. Next question. I feel uncomfortable when I hear negative news stories about YouTube. Again, this is sort of reiterating another question. I don't like it, or I feel upset. I think the other one was I feel upset, so this is I feel uncomfortable. More or less the same thing, but slightly different word usage. I don't know why there's two. They are trying to poke for specifics on how people feel, though. That is worth noting. Next one. This is an interesting one. Check this out. The negative news stories about YouTube hurt my personal reputation. Interesting. I think this is an example of YouTube wanting you to feel connected or life-linked even to the company. This is like some sort of destiny bond shit. If they fall, I fall. Which, to be fair, if YouTube were to, die to all the bad press, that would affect a lot of people's careers. But this is not talking about careers. This is talking about reputation. This is talking about how people view you, or how people view a company, and how that affects how they view you. This is getting into weird emotional territory where it's like, well, if they hate YouTube, they might hate me too, because I'm on YouTube. So this is getting unwisely personal again, in a bad way. This is dumb. Moving on. Here's where things get really insidious. After hearing a negative story about YouTube, I typically feel it's unfair to blame YouTube. Guys, I know they did all this bad shit, but I'm a loyalist to that company, so you can't hold it against them. I'm going to forgive no matter what they do because I'm a loyalist. That's, by the way, fun fact. If you turn a blind eye to what a company or a person is doing because you're loyal to them, you're not actually loyal to them. You're just being a yes man. True loyalty is offering critique to that company or that person so that they can improve themselves and be a better corporation or person, I guess. In the case of a corporation, though, it's a lot harder to do that because they won't listen. You're just some guy. But yeah, which is why you don't do this with companies. But yeah, I typically feel it's unfair to blame YouTube. This is a really insidious one because YouTube is asking, hey, do you think even if we make mistakes that you'll defend us? Are you going to do that? That's basically what this question is asking. Like, are you just going to blindly defend us? We really want blind defenders, so let us know. Dumb. Next one. Last of this set. After hearing a negative story about YouTube, this is the worst one. After hearing a negative story about YouTube, I feel guilty for the actions of YouTube. Holy shit. Why are they even asking this one? This is so very utterly gross. This should not exist on the survey at all. Do you take personal responsibility when the company you really, really like gets a bunch of negative press? Do you internalize it and be like, oh, I feel like I'm part of the problem, or I feel bad for them. I feel so bad for this company. I feel guilty. It's my fault too. This is fucked. Why are they asking this? This is not cool. Instead of asking if you agree with this, they should just be telling you straight out, don't feel this way, it's unhealthy, because it is exceptionally unhealthy. They are, however, of course, effectively wanting to see if people agree strongly. They probably want people to agree strongly. But that's really fucked in this situation, because you should never feel guilty for the actions of another, whether a person or a corporate entity. That is so dumb. That is so dumb. But I bet they want you to feel that way, because again, it makes you loyal to them. Moving on. So this one was interesting to me. This continues off the negative news stories, changes format. After hearing a negative news story about YouTube, which action are you most likely to take? Please select the top 3 actions that you would be most likely to take. This one was interesting to me not because of the question, but because of the fact that, as you see at the top here, there are few 2 answers, at least 3 are correct. This is the only one I felt like selecting, because this is not stuff that it's not because I don't care. Continue to create new content at a regular rate. Here's the thing, I can't do anything about it, right? So that's the only logical answer I have. But here's the really insidious thing. They insist you answer at least 3. Or exactly 3. So in other words, you have to choose 3 of these. So what are the other options that I have? This is the only one I felt about. What are my other options? What else can I select? Interact less with users on the platform. Okay, maybe makes sense. Wait to post content until the incident calms down. Interesting. That's self-serving. The reason I just continue along is because waiting to post content is, if there's an unpopular phase for YouTube, is just to capitalize on the content working out for myself. That's kind of selfish. I don't blame people for doing that if they do it. But stop promoting video on the platform. Again, this is basically asking if you're going to leave the platform. Not my plan. Continue posting content as if nothing happened. This is very similar to the first one, except for this is more of a, I'm going to turn a blind eye. I'm not turning a blind eye. That's why I'm making this freaking video, after all. I will pay attention, but I also will recognize realistically what I can and can't affect. If I can't affect something, I'm not going to get directly action involved. I'm going to still keep up on it, but yeah. Look for ways to regain credibility. Here's this again. Oh, YouTube is going under fire. That hurts my credibility. I gotta regain credibility. This is dumb. Why the hell does your credibility get affected by the platform you're on having negative reviews? Again, this is forcing a personal link to the company that is very unhealthy. But again, wait till later, you'll see that even further. Angrily come out against the particular follower or media members. Look at this fucking question. Remember what I was talking about with like console fanboys attacking each other? This is exactly that. They are directly asking, hey, do you just like angrily go attack people emotionally if they attack your poor YouTube that you love so much? Yeah, this is so dumb. They are encouraging this with this question too. Explore other platforms that may better align with my goals and values. Fair enough if you do that. Stop posting content. Again, fair enough, but again, not things I'm doing. Look at this. Apologize or address the negative incident through specific content. Hey guys, just want to make a video. YouTube's under fire a lot lately because of the shit they did, and I just wanted to personally apologize for that, even though I'm just a user and not part of the company. I just want to personally apologize for them because it's totally my fault somehow, even though it's not. So, sorry. Like, what the fuck is this question? Again, we saw earlier about the whole taking personal responsibility for the negativity YouTube receives, which is absurd. But again, I bet YouTube likes that if people take responsibility for their mistakes. That gives them an out. I'm sure they love that. So again, this question shows up through here. Yeah, right? Who made this? Where can I get the crap around? Sorry I'm not reading the chat right now. I'm trying to keep it nice and rhythmic. I'm going to read through the chat at the end, though, as I usually do for these sort of things. Consider leaving the platform. Again, fair. Or none of the above, which I couldn't select that and continue, so I had to select that and like 2 of the other ones that seemed reasonable, even if I wasn't doing it. Yeah, it was dumb that I had to select 3, though. Next one. Oh, wrong button. Okay, next one is... Here's where it gets really bad. This is the part of the survey that just made me... I actually, like, not even joking, when I reached certain parts of this survey, I literally just said out loud, like, oh my fucking god. Like, the questions I ran into. This is one of the first ones that did that. Imagine that YouTube was a person in your life. Already a bad idea, as I've been discussing. Which of the following would the relationship between you and YouTube most resemble? Please select up to 3 responses that best describe your relationship with YouTube. Look at these options. And of course, almost all of them are positive, or at least, like, playful. YouTube is like a frenemy, a child. I guess that's one of the worst ones, but also, like, what does that mean? YouTube is like a child. What the fuck does that mean? Pest. YouTube is like a pest. You look at this one. Listen, if I make a thumbnail for this video, this is going in it. Imagine YouTube is like a secret lover. A secret lover. You know, that your wife doesn't find out or something about, I guess. What the fuck is this whole fucking question? YouTube is like a boss. I think that's the one I actually chose because, like, that's the one that's not insane, I guess. YouTube is like a teammate. YouTube is like a marriage of convenience. What if, again, just like Secret Lover, why so specific about exactly what type of marriage? Exactly what type of lover? Like, what the fuck? YouTube is like a best friend. YouTube is like a casual friend. And YouTube is like a parent. Well, some parents think that YouTube's like a parent, the way they put their kid in front of it to babysit them. YouTube is like a committed partnership. YouTube is like a stranger. That actually is probably the most sane answer, stranger, because it's a corporate entity. Of course it's a stranger, effectively. But none of these questions are good, though. I think I actually ended up selecting none of the above because this whole question is insane. YouTube is like a teacher slash mentor, and YouTube is like a soulmate. What is this question? Like, everything up to this point was kind of and, you know, not too great. This question goes off the rails. Like, this is where things just went off a cliff. Right? I'm going to say, yeah, I imagine most would pick one of the above. If they're slightly sane, they would probably pick none of it. But look at this. Remember what I was talking about, how YouTube, much like many corporations, wants you to treat YouTube, at the corporate entity, as if they're your friend? This question is blatantly obvious because, unlike the previous ones where they were asking if you felt like YouTube was a friend or not, this is just asking you straight up, yeah, form an emotional attachment of. Okay, what kind of emotional attachment would that be? Tell us. Fucked. That's fucked no matter what you answer, except for none of the above. Or boss, maybe. Or stranger. Those are like the only three that make any sort of sense. Yeah, secret lover. See what I mean? That would be perfect. Wouldn't that be perfect for the thumbnail of this? It would sound like it was clickbait, but it's not. Yeah, so this is where things get really off the rail with the YouTube wants you to care about it like it's a friend or a lover, I guess. I fucking don't. Moving on. This is not the end of it. If you could choose, here's the thing. They asked you first how you felt about YouTube with all these. Same questions this time. If you could choose from any of the relationships below, what type of relationship would you prefer to have with YouTube? I love YouTube to feel like a... And so it's not... They didn't just ask you, hey, amongst these absurd answers, how do you emotionally attach to us right now? Okay, well, how would you like to emotionally attach with us? Fuck off, YouTube. You're a fucking company. You don't give a shit about me. Stop asking me if I care about you, or how I would like to care about you. Notice this one doesn't actually have a none of the above, by the way. You have to pick one of these now. I think I went with boss or stranger. I can't remember. Yeah, no none option anymore. Now you gotta pick, like, okay, what kind of relationship do you want to have with YouTube? Like, this is so dumb. And this is so, like, this shows, like, YouTube is obviously very out of touch with its audience and, like, how its audience feel. This makes it all the more clear going through this survey. When I hit this point, it was like, YouTube doesn't know what the fuck it's trying to do with its users. It really doesn't. These questions prove that. Moving on. So, this goes further. They're still going on with this. In which of the following moments, if any, do you feel most strongly that YouTube resembles this relationship that you selected from the previous question? Select one for each relationship. I don't know why they said it that way, but yeah. So now, like, what moments of using YouTube makes you feel like, you know, you're in a relationship with us? Responding to comments on my YouTube videos, reading the comments on other YouTube videos, after posting a new video on YouTube, collaborating with other YouTube creators, reading the comments on my YouTube videos, opening YouTube emails. It's like opening an email from a friend. I don't know. Promoting content on YouTube after being paid by YouTube. It's like being paid by a friend. I don't know. After watching videos on another platform, why would that have anything to do with this? Watching other videos on YouTube, commenting on other YouTube videos, creating videos on YouTube, watching my own videos on YouTube, when I haven't created on YouTube for a long time, and you miss being with your best friends. Logging into YouTube, checking my, logging into YouTube, just like going over a friend's house. Checking my YouTube analytics page after creating videos for another platform, after being paid by another platform, none of the above. Obviously, I chose the bottom one because what the fuck is this whole question line? This is dumb. What the fuck? Okay, and we're not done. They even thought of a different way to involve you in a relationship with this next one. Check this out. Please select the set of circles that best describe the extent that YouTube's values overlap with your own values. Once again, need to pause for a second. YouTube doesn't have values. It's a company. It's a corporation full of legalese rules. It's built off of multiple people. YouTube doesn't have values. It parrots the values of those in positions of power with YouTube. But YouTube does not have values. It's a fucking company. But moving on. So, the more versus less you think YouTube's values overlap with yours, the more overlap versus less overlap the two circles should be. Please respond as fast as you can. They don't want you to think. This last bit, too. They don't want you to think. They want you to just go with the first thought in your mind when you think about this and then select it. They want you to go off of your emotions, not your thoughts, to put it very simply. What the fuck? Again, right? So, I think I actually ended up picking this option simply because there's always going to be a little overlap with values, I guess, even though it's a wrong... Like, notice there's no none of above. I had to pick one. So, I think I just went with this one. But yeah, look at this shit. Values. How soul bonded do you think your values are of YouTube? Again, what a harmful way to view YouTube that they are trying to force upon creators. Viewing them as, like, their best friend and shit, you know? But yeah, the sad truth is there are still some value overlap. Like, if I want to be, like, completely, like, fair / true about it, there's a few things that I agree with you on YouTube. A few. Scant few, but yes. If I want to be completely realistic, that's the one I had to choose. Next one. We wouldn't, again, keep in mind, this is another blank box where I have to put an answer. This was a weird one. We would now like to ask you about your thoughts towards creators from YouTube and other platforms. Please take a second and think about a creator who has influenced you as a creator in the past 6 months. If you think of more than one creator, focus on the one who first came to mind. Again, they just want you to work off whatever you answer first. On surface value, this seems like an okay enough question. Now, we'd simply like to know the name of the creator you were thinking about when answering the above question. Please enter their name in the box below. I had trouble with this one because my influence, when it comes to like other creators where I'm like, this person inspires me, which are people out there, there's never any one person. They always come to me in a group. So I answered that there's too many people to count and I can't just pick the first one because they all come to mind at the same time. There's a lot of people out there that are cool on YouTube. Not because YouTube is cool, but because they're cool people on YouTube. So, yeah, there's a lot of creators that are worth noting. But here's the thing. Why does YouTube care? Why is YouTube wanting to know who I think of? Here's the weird thing. The thing I thought in the back of my head. If I had answered all the questions up till this point in a negative way, showing that I'm not an ally of YouTube like they want me to be, would me putting a creator name perhaps put that creator at risk? If I answered in ways that YouTube didn't like up till now in the survey, and then I provided a name of a person who probably thinks somewhat similar to me, would that perhaps put them under fire? Would that perhaps out them as somebody YouTube should, like, scrutinize? Maybe. I don't know. It feels like it's a bad idea to put an answer here. But again, you have to. Again, very dumb that it's forcing you. Next one. Thinking about, okay, so here's the answer I put, and it just puts it in bold text here. This is what I put. I don't have any one specific person that represents this. Now, this question's a little bit fucked in its language because I put that answer. Thinking about I don't have any one specific person that represents this, please select the set of circles that best describes how close you feel to this creator. This is another level of fucked. Now YouTube isn't just going, how close do you emotionally feel to us as a company, as a person-company relationship, which shouldn't exist. How close do you feel to another creator? Now, here's the weird thing. There are situations where you might actually have a proper, like, relationship, friendship bond with another creator. But I think for a lot of us, creator or user regardless, we know the creator, maybe we've talked to them a little bit, but we don't, like, really actually know them as a friend. We're a fan of them, we care about them, maybe, but it's not fair to say you're in a relationship of any sort with them, right? So this is another harmful question because this is encouraging a creator to view another creator with an emotional bond where there may not be one. Again, there may be one. Some creators really bond close and do a bunch of collabs and really care about each other and come over to each other's houses and like do collabs there. And I think that's great. I think that's great if creators get that bond. But I wouldn't say I really have that bond with anybody in particular. So yeah, this question's kind of broken for me. But again, it's again YouTube wanting to talk about emotional bonds where there may not be any. And granted, there is the first option, which I guess applies to that, but it's a weird thing to promote, and it's unhealthy because especially with YouTube doing that with itself. It's emotional bonds that you have with it, which is very unhealthy. Less than healthy with another creator because that's at least an individual person, but I think this encourages the wrong sort of message because there's a lot of people out there that watch the content of a creator and watch a whole bunch and like them. 1 second. My throat is like, you've been talking for a long time. You must die. Please have a bunch of coughs. I have a drink. But this is encouraging unhealthy fanboyism, basically. Which I have seen myself. Basically, it's completely okay to get, like, into a creator, like, man, I really love watching their content. They make me feel happy when I watch their content. That's fine. That's great. That's what I'm trying to aim for. I want to make people have positive experiences with my content, which is another reason why I don't generally do rants like this. But hey, I'm trying to make this fun too. My point is, though, that while it's okay to feel that way, there's a lot of people out there that go, wow, I watch this guy's videos every day. I have such a relationship with them. I'm so, like, I'm their friend because I watch all their content. It's like, no, that's different. A friendship, a bond, a relationship with a creator is completely different from just watching the creator. Like, yeah, you can form a friendship with a creator if they want to hang out with you and stuff, but that's, of course, something that should always be on their terms because they're probably a bit busy. They're creating. So it's very unhealthy and toxic to start thinking that you're like best buddies with somebody without getting their consent about that, you know? It's non-consensual, like, friendship where one person thinks they're friends while the other person just thinks they're, you know, they're a nice user to talk to. But I'm not their friend, but they think I'm their friend, which is very unhealthy because that's not reciprocated. That is not a proper friendship. Pair relationships, very bad. And this is encouraging that. So again, fuck you, YouTube. And then the last question was, again, this is weird. I don't know why they care about this. How old would you estimate this influential creator is? Again, going off the previous questions. Now they're just wanting me to guess their age. I guess for demographics, but why am I guessing their age? Wouldn't YouTube know their age if they're on the platform? Kind of a weird question. But yeah, so that's everything I wanted to share. And I'll be perfectly honest with you, the number one reason I wanted to make this a proper video rant was definitely, definitely the, this one. This is the one that tipped me over and it's like, alright, you know what, fuck this, I'm making a video. This is the one that made me want to make a video. Because it's very clear, if you look at the big picture here, YouTube is absolutely trying to form an emotional investment of you as a creator, in this case, because this is, again, a creator survey. But don't think for a second they don't try to do this with basic users as well. They want to do this with both creators and users. In this case, this survey here is exceptionally transparent about it because it's only aimed at creators. I don't think they'd ever release a survey like this to users because it's too public. They're asking too many questions that show their hand in a public environment at that point. But asking only creators, that's semi-private, since you only get to see it on your creator page, which you don't even have if you're a user. So I can kind of see why they're a little more transparent about their intentions to a creator survey. But that's exactly why I wanted to go ahead and make a video on this. I wanted people to be aware of what creators see. Those of you that are basic users, those of you that are creators. I want you to see what surveys kind of come our way. They come every now and then. I don't participate in all the surveys, but I'm going to start watching them with a little more attention because they're kind of messed up at times, and I think I might want to go over that now and then. Because these surveys offer us a current window into what YouTube is thinking about, what YouTube wants, what YouTube is trying to encourage or manipulate, more is a better word. And we get to see that here. And that's why I wanted to review this. I wanted to go over this for you guys so that you guys are aware of what YouTube is doing, what YouTube's intentions are. And its intentions very clearly are to get you emotionally involved with it, which isn't exactly unusual. A lot of companies do that. But the lengths at which YouTube is going to is further than I have seen with other companies. Again, they want to see if you think of them as a secret lover. I don't think I need to defend that point much more than point that out. It's really ridiculous. So, but yeah, I hope that offered a little bit of insight into what creator surveys look like at times. This is definitely one of the most notable ones I've seen. And I'll keep up to date on future one if there's any interesting updates. But yeah, form your own opinions on this, and be careful, man. Don't ever get emotionally involved with a company. And if you get emotionally involved with a person, make sure to weigh the consequences of that before you do so. Always be careful. Protect yourself first, and remember that having an opinion is much different from having an emotion. Emotions are not opinions. They can help form opinions, but I've typically found that if you don't balance that with logic, research, analyticalness, your opinion will generally be flawed. Emotions are very valuable things to people, and they have a good purpose. But in situations like this involving corporations, you cannot go off of your emotions. But YouTube absolutely wants you to go off your emotions because it benefits the company, not you. It shrouds the truth from you. It shrouds what YouTube is doing. I mean, after all, some of the earlier questions were like, if YouTube is outed as doing something bad, do you feel guilty over it? YouTube wants to know. This is a very fucked survey, and I wanted to point this out, let you guys know. I hope it helped give you guys a better window into what the hell YouTube is doing these days. I appreciate your guys' attention. Feel free to form your own opinions. Feel free to comment. Feel free to critique my opinion, other people's opinions, and of course the opinions of YouTube. Just stay respectful. That's all I ask. Respect each other's opinions, even if you're critiquing them. And as for the Twitch chat, I will be reading off what you guys have been saying in the meantime after my YouTube outro here, which is right now. So thanks again, guys, for attending and watching this little rant.